Okay, folks, here we go. Barry Barnes here, host of LockerTalk podcast and founder of LockerReport.com. As we ready to give y'all guys an update on some of the players who we evaluated this year, getting ready for the 2023 NFL season, as we evaluated 41 talents, small school talents across the board, preparing for the 2023 NFL season. And out of the 41, we're proud to say that 19 players actually had signed with teams, whether it's going to minicamp or getting set up as they got signed as undrafted free agents. A couple of players did sign with the with the USFL and the XFL. We'll get to that part a little later. But I want to focus on the players that signed with NFL clubs right after the NFL draft. And like I said, out of the 41, 19 of those players that we evaluated actually signed with NFL clubs. And definitely want to highlight some of those players and where we think they may end up at towards this season, before the season starts. We believe that, most of them will make it through to training camp at least, and still believe that a good portion of these players will definitely make rosters. And we're going to start off with some of the ones that we highlighted individually leading up to the draft. So I'm going to highlight some of those players, and there were some players we didn't get a chance to highlight because there was no film on them, but we'll talk about some of those guys as well. But we definitely want to talk about some of the players that stood out for us in the very beginning. Like we noticed that we talked about this one young man with Taylor Grimes, wide receiver from Iconic Word. He actually signed with the Denver Broncos. I said that I believe that this young man definitely was a draftable talent, but but it doesn't matter. He did sign with the Denver Broncos. I do not see us. I actually see him making it with this club. I really believe that with this team, with a Russell Wilson there, and with this guy coming in with a second year as the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, knowing they still need talent in a wide receiver position, I really believe that Grimes definitely have an opportunity to make this roster. I really believe in this talent. I think this young man will definitely have what it takes to definitely be on the NFL squad this season. Not next season, but this season. He's definitely an NFL caliber quarterback and a running back with Jamel McLaughlin, who we talked about from Youngstown State. Another explosive running back that can actually be a strong outlet, and the outlet stands for overlooked unknown talents. So make sure you guys go and look at those names, those players that had actually got signed with some NFL teams, a talent that we here at LockerReport.com had evaluated on our own during that whole process. And there were some other players to look out for. Now, for the Baltimore Ravens, they signed 3 other players that we had highlighted in that outlet. And one of the receivers that we definitely did on individual basis with Chris Thornton from James Madison. He is a small wide receiver, but very polished very quickly. I would not be surprised if he did not make that Ravens roster, although I believe he is NFL quality wide receiver. Knowing with the AFC North, that's a very physical division. A lot of times small wide receivers don't necessarily do well in that division because it's very, very physical. If he makes the team, that'll be great. I don't necessarily see him making that Ravens squad, but I do see him on someone's roster because that is a very physical division, and the Ravens already have small wide receivers anyway. So the task is going to be a little difficult unless he'll find a home on special teams. Special teams was one of his niche when he was at James Madison. I would not be surprised if he made it based off his ability to be a return man. But in that division, it's a very physical division. I would not be surprised if he did not make the Ravens roster because of that. But him being on an NFL roster, nonetheless, I definitely see him definitely as a credible NFL player. But this one young man, Justin Ford, who is a cornerback coming from Montana, he is definitely a very physical corner. I would not be surprised if he actually make that Ravens roster because he is a very physical defensive back. Something that the Ravens definitely proud themselves of. Someone they can hit, can actually do very, very well in space. Fundamentally sound. I really see Justin Ford fitting this division and making that Ravens roster because he is a physical cornerback that can have all the attributes, have good hands, can create turnovers. Definitely see him one of those players, and the Ravens are one of those teams that's very, very solid in finding players under the radar, undrafted, and making a very impact for that squad. So I would not be surprised if Justin Ford make that team. If he does, he definitely will make an impact for the Baltimore Ravens squad. And another player who the Ravens did bring on with Nolan Henderson from Delaware, a quarterback. Now, when it comes down to evaluating quarterbacks, small school quarterbacks it's definitely a lot tougher because we know there are 32 positions in the NFL that we know as far as quarterbacks starting. We know it's going to be really difficult for anyone. That's a hard job to attain. Then you throw in another 32 that's going to try to back up another quarterback or beat someone out to be a quarterback in the league. And in most cases, teams don't only carry 2 quarterbacks on their roster anyway. So, and then you throw in the fact small school quarterback trying to come in and compete, that's going to be a tough hill to climb. Not saying that Henderson cannot achieve that mountain, but it is something to watch out for. Knowing the way how the Ravens is built offensively, knowing that they have Lamar Jackson there, knowing they're going to have Tyler Huntley there. Tyler Huntley has been a proven pro quarterback. It's going to be really interesting seeing how Henderson will make that squad. It's going to be really tough because that is a system that's set up for running style quarterbacks that can get out the pocket and make plays with their arms. It's going to be a tough hill to climb, but I would not be surprised if he makes someone's roster. It's really going to be hard for him to make that roster in Baltimore. But hey, if he make it, that's great. Either way, I know he's definitely in the right place in the NFL. NFL scouts know that he have a credible situation where he can make it in the NFL. I believe that he still can make it on somebody's roster. So it's going to be a little tough when you look at small school quarterbacks. And to stay with the small school quarterbacks, Shelley, this young man who I'm really high on, coming from a solid school, finishing a great collegiate career, and now looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with the Washington Commanders, coming from Missouri State. Now, Jason, on the other hand, yes, he can deliver the ball from the pocket, but I can see him, would not be surprised if Washington was to change him by position, because he is a pure athlete. Would not be surprised if he play a different position to get into the NFL. Not saying he cannot play the quarterback position, because he can. But I would not be surprised if they try to convert him to another position, because he is a talented athlete that can make an NFL roster playing another position. So I would not be surprised if they try to switch him to another position. But I do see him on someone's roster. Whether it is going to be a quarterback, definitely have a chance with the Commanders to making their roster as a quarterback. But if he get converted to another position, that part I would not be surprised if that was to happen, to be honest with you. And then we have some other good players, like for the Seattle Seahawks, they signed Marcus Cooper from Iconic Word has several players who have signed with teams, including their quarterback, Lindsey Scott, who signed with the New York Jets. Very, very difficult in making that roster. We know that Aaron Rodgers is there. So it's going to be challenging for Lindsey Scott to make that roster as well. Like I said, small school quarterbacks going to teams, and then at the same time going to teams that are already established at the quarterback position. It's going to be really tough for these guys to make the squads, being honest with you. But I think Lindsey Scott still had the capabilities of being an NFL quarterback, and the Jets are definitely giving him an opportunity from my kind of word to watch out for. And then the same thing, the New York Jets did bring in another quarterback, Tim Demorat. He was another player that we had highlighted here at LockerTalk.com. Now, this young man is amazing. Had the most passing yards in the FCS this year. Foreman, he pretty much killed the record books this year. He is a pure quarterback. Will he make the Jets roster? I'm not for sure. But I'm definitely confident that he will make an NFL roster, because he is a pure quarterback that can do some great things in the NFL. Do not sleep on this guy. He's going to make somebody's roster. If it's not for the Jets, he's going to be on somebody's roster, at least someone's practice squad, because he is legit, hands down. And now, when we talk about wide receivers, Ty Scott, another player from Missouri State, signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs stick with this young man. He can be very, very special. This young man is very explosive. You saw our breakdown here on LockerTalk podcast. When we talked about this young man has all the tools to be on an NFL roster. Definitely looking forward to seeing Ty Scott making this Chiefs team. I really believe he can make this squad with the Chiefs team. If not, he's definitely going to be on someone's squad. Definitely this coming season. Hands down, definitely see that happen. And then also when we look at some of our defensive backs, and you know that we're really high on Jordan Jones coming from Rhode Island. Jordan Jones is definitely a legitimate cornerback for the NFL. He signed with the Los Angeles Rams. He's making that squad. Knowing they got rid of Jalen Ramsey in a trade during this offseason, it will open up a room for this young man to make the squad. He's going to make that squad. I have no doubt about that. Jordan Jones is legit. He's an NFL cornerback. Definitely looking forward to seeing what he's going to do
on the next level. Fantastic, talented player. Definitely seeing that happening. And on defensive side of the ball, we have Ezekiel Vandenbush. He signed with the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins have a gem in this guy with Ezekiel. He is phenomenal. Definitely a great edge rusher. I definitely going to do some great things coming from Illinois. He's definitely going to do some great things in the NFL. He is definitely an NFL caliber player. Looking forward to seeing what he's going to do on the next level. Knowing he's going with a Miami Dolphins team, a team that's on the up and coming, doing something really great. Definitely see him on someone's roster this year in the NFL. Definitely see him with the Miami Dolphins. I definitely keep your eyes on that young man. I'm telling you, that dude is for real. Hands down, don't sleep on him. I think that he's going to have all the tangibles that you're looking for. You know, definitely not a player very well with his hand in the dirt, explosive to the outside, great leverage, everything that you would need on a defensive end. That young man will definitely bring as an edge rusher for the Miami Dolphins. Definitely looking forward to seeing him making that roster. And then you also have another guy named Devonta Womack from Chattanooga. He's definitely one of those players to watch out for. Definitely a solid defensive lineman who can actually make that roster for the Cincinnati Bengals. Another player to watch out in the NFL going to the next level. And also, hey, listen, another player to watch out for, although he did not come from a small school, which is what we deal with here majority of the time, but from South Carolina, Sherrod Green, linebacker Sherrod Green from South Carolina. He was definitely a special project, a player that was pretty much counted out because he had several injuries in his career. He is healthy 100%. When this young man is healthy, he is a legitimate hybrid type of linebacker that will fit today's NFL. Check out this young man, Sherrod Green. He actually signed with the New York Jets. He will fit perfectly with that defense, knowing the type of linebacker that he can. Not comparing him to no NFL linebacker in the league, but he'll definitely fit that scheme. That type of linebacker that will cover down the field, has good hands, can make stops, knowing that he is 100% healthy. Looking forward to seeing what Sherrod Green can do in the Jets uniform this season, whether with the Jets or somebody else. He is definitely a legitimate NFL prospect. Keep your eyes out for that young man. I expect him to make that roster. I would not be surprised if he did. Definitely NFL caliber linebacker, knowing that he is 100% healthy. Watch out for Sherrod Green, coming from South Carolina. He has a lot to prove, to show that he is built and ready to go, sustain himself, keeping himself in good health. As long as he stays in good health, he'll definitely make that roster. Hands down, he's a legitimate candidate to watch out for this year.